So what happens when a hero falls? When a legendary figure like Judas Maccabeus is suddenly gone, it leaves this huge power vacuum. The leadership of this very fragile Judean state fell to his family, but this was no simple inheritance. It was, you could say, a crown of thorns, passed from one brother to the next, in a time that was just defined by constant conflict. This is the story of that incredibly perilous succession.
Right, so the time right after Judas's death was anything but stable. His brothers didn't just get to step into his shoes, they had to fight for their survival, literally moment by moment. Their story, which we get from the historian Josephus, is just a masterclass in high-stakes politics where, every alliance, every handshake could be hiding a dagger.
The first brother to take up this dangerous mantle was Jonathan. He inherited a nation that was still fighting for its life, totally surrounded by hostile forces, so his big challenge wasn't just to win battles, it was to try and win the peace through some really clever, really cunning diplomacy.
Jonathan was in the middle of this incredible balancing act. I mean, think about it. On one side, he's keeping up the alliance with the rising power of Rome, which was this crucial shield against his neighbors. But on the other hand, he has to make a deal with the local power, the Seleucid heir Antiochus. It was such a dangerous game, playing these two massive powers off each other, all just to make sure Judea could survive.
But Jonathan's really intricate web of alliances, it had a single fatal flaw. And that flaw had a name: Trypho. Now, as the guardians of the young king, Trypho had immense power, but he wanted more. He didn't see Jonathan as an ally to his king, he saw him as an obstacle to his own ambition.
Trypho's plan was just sheer ruthlessness. This wasn't a battle, it was a cold, calculated hit. First, he dangles this lure of fake friendship to get Jonathan to come with just a few guards. Then, bam, the ambush. With Jonathan captured, Trypho invades Judea, thinking, hey, the nation's leaderless. But when Jonathan's brother Simon actually fights off the invasion, Trypho, just furious at his defeat, has Jonathan executed. It's such a tragic end for a leader who navigated so much, only to be undone by pure treachery.
So, with Jonathan murdered, the leadership now passes to the last of the first-generation Maccabee brothers, Simon. And far from being broken by his brother's death, Simon totally rises to the occasion. He's ready not only to avenge Jonathan, but to finally achieve the dream his family had fought and died for so long. And wow, what a leader he turned out to be. Simon was both a skilled general and a savvy statesman. He captured these key coastal cities which gave Judea vital access to the sea. He finally rooted out that foreign garrison from Jerusalem, and this is a huge symbolic move. He demolished their fortress, the citadel. He even helped settle the score by aiding the campaign against the very man who killed his brother, the tyrant Trypho. His success was so complete that the people made him high priest.
But maybe his single greatest accomplishment comes down to this number, 170. For almost 2 centuries, Judea had been under the thumb of the Macedonian-led Seleucid Empire. Simon was the one who finally and definitively broke that chain. He won true political independence for his people.
The historian Josephus, who is our source for this entire story, leaves absolutely no doubt about Simon's legacy. He says it right there. Simon wasn't just another ruler, he was the liberator who brought his family's long, bloody struggle to a truly triumphant end.
It really should have been the dawn of a golden age. You have the liberator, Simon, at the height of his power. His people are finally free. But the cycle of violence that had defined his family's rise, well, it wasn't over. And the final, fatal blow wouldn't come from a foreign king, it was going to come from inside his own house.
It is a genuinely shocking turn of events. After defeating every single external enemy, Simon is assassinated during a banquet. And the killer? His own son-in-law, Ptolemy. The very threat that the Maccabees had united against, foreign tyranny, was suddenly replaced by something so much more insidious: betrayal from within.
The murder of Simon was just the opening move of a coup. See, Ptolemy didn't just kill his father-in-law. He moved against his entire family. The fate of the whole Hasmonean dynasty now rested on one man, Simon's third son, John Hyrcanus, who suddenly found himself in a desperate race for his life.
Okay, so the chaos of that moment just unfolded so fast. As Simon is murdered at the feast, Ptolemy immediately captures his wife and 2 of his sons. But a warning gets out to the third son, John Hyrcanus. What happens next is this frantic race to the capital, Jerusalem. Hyrcanus is racing for one gate, while Ptolemy is racing for another, and in the end, it was the people of the city
who were still fiercely loyal to the memory of the great Simon, they're the ones who decided the outcome. They threw the gates open for Hyrcanus and slammed them shut on the murderer, Ptolemy. So Hyrcanus, having just barely escaped death and secured the capital, immediately takes on his father's title of high priest. His power is confirmed, but his family is still in terrible danger. So his very first act as ruler is to march his army against Ptolemy, to avenge his father, and to try and rescue his captive mother and brothers.
And so a new generation takes the throne, born from this crucible of betrayal and family strife. John Hyrcanus wins the crown, but the very foundation of his rule is soaked in his own family's blood. Which leaves us with this really critical question. Could he, the son of the great liberator, finally bring peace to Judea? Or was he now just another player in the exact same deadly game that had consumed everyone who came before him?